Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of The Hobby, where you geek out with me so that you can geek out with your friends. So, today we'll be talking about the biggest superhero movie of all time. You might have heard about it. Yep, it's Avengers Infinity War. With 10 years worth of characters and stories culminating in one historic film, it's so easy to get lost in narrative. So, here are the top 10 burning questions from the film with explanations and theories based on the MCU lore and some clues from the comics. But before we get started, a fair warning to everyone. This will be a no-holds-barred discussion on the film, so spoiler warning for those who haven't seen it yet. Alright, still here? Here we go. Infinity War's massive scale required the combined forces of nearly all of Marvel's superheroes. Unfortunately for fans who were expecting the full Marvel lineup, the film leaves out Hawkeye, Ant-Man, the Wasp, Valkyrie, and Korg. The film addresses the absence of both Ant-Man and Hawkeye when Black Widow explains that both are under house arrest after the events of Civil War. The Wasp's whereabouts are unknown, but it won't be too long until the Ant-Man and the Wasp gives us context on her current situation. As for Valkyrie, co-director Joe Russo has confirmed in an interview that Valkyrie survives Thanos' attack by using escape pods along with a few Asgardian survivors. Here's to hoping that our favorite revolutionary, Korg, is one of them. Although Kevin Feige explicitly said that Marvel television characters will not appear in Infinity War, Marvel's "It's All Connected" mantra had fans hoping for cameos or references to the superheroes in the small screen. Unfortunately, none made an appearance, but to get you up to speed with the current whereabouts of these characters, here's a quick rundown. Coulson and the rest of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are currently dealing with their own alien invasion. Daredevil is recovering from the events of the Defenders. Jessica Jones is in Hell's Kitchen dealing with the death of her mother. Iron Fist is also in Hell's Kitchen and has assumed the role of its protector. Luke Cage returns to Harlem. The Punisher finally gets his revenge on those responsible for his family's deaths. The Inhumans have relocated the city of Adelan in Hawaii. And the Runaways are in LA and are on the run from their supervillain parents. When Peter Dinklage was rumored to have a role in Infinity War, speculation started to pour that he could either be Pip the Troll or the voice of Ebony Maw. It was a well-kept secret and no one knew for sure until he appeared in the movie as Eitri. If you recall your Thor mythology, there are 9 realms in Asgardian lore, and in Infinity War, we were introduced to Nidavellir, the home of the dwarves where Eitri is the ruling king. The dwarves are the best blacksmiths in the universe and are responsible for the creation of the most powerful weapons ever. In the film, Thanos goes to Eitri and coerces him into creating a weapon strong enough to harness the powers of all 6 Infinity Stones, the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos promises to spare the lives of the dwarves, but ends up killing them anyway after Eitri creates the gauntlet. Thanos also removes Eitri's hands so that he is unable to forge a weapon for anybody else. Fortunately for Thor, who seeks Eitri's help to create the new hammer to kill Thanos, Eitri already has the mold for a king's weapon called the Stormbreaker, and is able to craft it with the help of a Dying Star, Rocket Raccoon, Thor, and Teenage Groot. We last saw the Red Skull in Captain America the First Avenger, where he was teleported into space by the Tesseract. Since then, fans have speculated that the Red Skull is still alive in some far-off planet. Infinity War confirms this theory when we see him as the custodian of the Soul Stone in Vormir. Not a lot of backstory is given as to how Red Skull survived this long, or why he was chosen for this task, but this surprise cameo is pretty good fanservice. I think it's safe to assume that everyone expected someone to die in Infinity War. I mean, when you're dealing with the Mad Titan Thanos, casualties are bound to happen. However, I don't think anyone expected the massive body count by the end of the film. Thanos completes his mission to collect all Infinity Stones and obliterates half the universe, including a bulk of our Marvel superheroes, by snapping his fingers. As each one faded away, one big question remains. Are they really dead? Now, we can divide the deaths into 2 groups. One would be the pre-snap deaths, and the other would be the actual snap deaths. The general assumption is that everyone who died before the snap, like Heimdall, Loki, Gamora, and Vision, are most likely to be really dead. Though cases can be made for Gamora and Vision's return. Gamora's soul is still inside the Soul Stone and could possibly be saved, while Vision's consciousness might have been preserved by Shuri, though not in its entirety. The snap deaths, on the other hand, which include Winter Soldier, Black Panther, Groot, Scarlet Witch, Mantis, Drax, Star-Lord, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, could still be saved by reversing the effects of the gauntlet. Another huge question that fans are asking is, why didn't everyone die? When Thanos says that he wants to wipe out half the population of the universe, he means that in a literal sense. His MO is all about balancing the universe and ensuring its longevity by wiping out half of its inhabitants. In his own delusional and twisted sense of morality, Thanos believes in equality, which is why he kills indiscriminately. He explains to Doctor Strange that when his planet Titan was in the brink of collapse due to the exploitation of its resources, he proposed genocide with a random selection on who gets to live. This mercy, as he likes to call it, is the same process when he snapped his fingers. Only half the universe died and the selection is purely random, which explains why some of the Avengers survived. When Thanos uses the full force of the Infinity Gauntlet when he snapped his fingers, the gauntlet looked badly damaged. The effects on Thanos are visible in his last shot, with his left arm completely scorched. Now we know that wielding one stone requires significant strength and physiology, but wielding all 6 is apparently too much even for the gauntlet to handle. My guess is that the gauntlet is in bad shape and can't perform the same level of power again. That is not to say that it no longer works, since Thanos was still able to use his space stone to teleport away safely. It probably just means that it can no longer support the use of all 6 stones combined, which is what Thanos used in order to wipe out half of the universe. If this is the case, then using the gauntlet to reverse the effects is no longer an option for the surviving members of the Avengers. E3 could possibly create another one since we know he still has the mold in his forge. Whatever the case may be, destroying the gauntlet is a huge equalizer for the Avengers vs Thanos rematch and should make things more interesting for the sequel. Among all the Infinity Stones, the Soul Stone is the most sentient and is in constant need for souls. This was explicitly shown in the film as it required the sacrifice of one's true love in order to wield its power. In a gut-wrenching scene, Thanos throws Gamora off a cliff and adds the stone to the gauntlet. But what can the Soul Stone do exactly? In the comics, it can absorb and store souls in a pocket universe known as the Soul World, which is pretty much inside the stone itself. Do you remember those scenes where Thanos would meet with a younger Gamora in an orange-looking place? That's the Soul World. In the comics, Gamora also finds herself trapped in the Soul Stone, but is eventually freed by Adam Warlock through his connection with the stone. Does that mean that MCU Gamora can still be resurrected? Probably, but I wouldn't count on it, since it would be such a waste of perfectly good storytelling. How about the disintegrated heroes? Are they also trapped in the Soul Stone? Can they be brought back to life? That's a plausible theory, and we'll just have to wait and see until Avengers 4. The end credits scene shows the wide-scale effect of the snap as we see civilians disappearing, causing chaos and destruction. We see Maria Hill and Nick Fury as they monitor the situation in Wakanda, but suddenly fall victim to the snap as well. However, before Fury meets his demise, he signals a code red and grabs what looks like a transmitter in order to contact an unknown ally. Fury disintegrates and the camera zooms in on the activated transmitter and shows the logo of none other than Captain Marvel herself. Oscar Award winner Brie Larson is set to play Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel, which is scheduled for release on March 6, 2019, just before Avengers 4. Captain Marvel will take place in the 90s and will feature Nick Fury and Agent Coulson, and will tell Captain Marvel's origin story during the Kree-Skrull War. It will be interesting to find out where exactly she's been after all this time, and what her current situation is when she receives Fury's distress signal. My guess is that she is in space acting as some sort of intergalactic police, much like her previous role in the comics with Alpha Flight. We'll know for sure when Captain Marvel is released next year. Perhaps the biggest question after Infinity War is whether or not our fallen heroes will ever come back to life. There are a few safe bets like Spider-Man, Black Panther, and some of the Guardians, as all 3 franchises have already announced their sequels after Infinity War. But how exactly can these resurrections happen? Well, as of right now, I have 2 theories as to how. First, in the comics, the fallen heroes from Thanos' snap were brought back to life when Nebula stole the gauntlet from Thanos and willed the universe back into existence. Given that Nebula survived Infinity War, Avengers 4 could very well follow the same story. The other theory revolves around the Avengers 4 set photos that were leaked online. The images show Tony Stark wearing a SHIELD uniform, along with Ant-Man, talking to Cap and Thor in their Avengers 1 outfits. This seems to indicate an element of time travel in the sequel, which could lead to the undoing of the events of Infinity War.